Now for the moment that we have been waiting for. Let's get into this. Billboard names its top 25 greatest female rappers of all time.
Jill,
Yes.
take a deep breath.
I got a deep breath.
Because I know you about to unleash right now.
I'm like,
Really?
well, let me tell you why, right? Because the first thing I had to do, I looked at the list first, and before I reacted, I was like, let me go see what their criteria is, right? Let me stop and breathe and see what their criteria is. So it was their staff, right? And they considered body of work achievements, charted singles and albums, gold, platinum certifications, right? So the hardware, the valid proof, cultural impact, influence, how the artist's work has fostered the genre's evolution, longevity, years at the mic, lyrics, storytelling skills, and flow, vocal prowess. So those are all the things that I would consider. However, right, and we'll get into this, I understand why number one is number one. You should already know who number one is. Lady of Rage, she's far down on the list. Shout out to Forrest Harrison in the chat. I understand why number one is, but I still think the blueprint, the layout really should have been number one. We'll get into that. The blueprint. All right, so I'm going to run down from 20 to 1, leaving out 5. Y'all will live. What the Billboard's list is for their top 25 rappers. We're giving 20. So at number 20 is Moni Love. Number 19 is Lotto. 18 is Remy Ma. Rhapsody is 17. Doja Cat is 16. Megan Thee Stallion 15. Left Eye 14. Trina 13. Da Brat 12. Cardi B 11. Foxy Brown 10. Eve 9. Roxanne Shante 8. Salt and Pepper 7. MC Light 6. Queen Latifah 5. Lil Kim 4. Lauryn Hill is 3. Missy is 2. So that leaves Nicki at number 1. So let me say this. Nicki, obviously, that's a good choice, right? That's a good choice. Nicki, did start the BBL wave with female rappers. Like, that's part of the kit, right? The pink wigs, people were popping out with pink wigs and colorful wigs because of Nicki at that time. Because we all know who started that. Kim, the Queen Bee. She dropped in with fashion. That wasn't really a thing for female rappers before Kim and Foxy, right? To drop in with all of the fashion stuff and the labels and what have you. But I feel like, one, the streaming era probably benefited Nicki. No shade, no tea, right? She was part of the physical era too. But I do feel like if we're including sales, she benefited from that, right? And but the list is interesting to me because they have Salt and Pepper below Queen Latifah, right? And I don't know, Salt and Pepper went pop. They were the first real crossover thing. I don't think they included JJ Fadden there. I don't think they necessarily should have, right? But they have Cardi B at number 11, and Cardi's dropped one album. Her features slamming. I'm not shading Cardi. I like Cardi. She's hinted that she's about to drop an album and a tour, but it's been almost 8 years. That's crazy. Impact. Just how she did hit hard. She did do it a different way. She came off of reality TV and Instagram, so I'm not giving Cardi her props, but...
And it was arguably a classic album.
First of all, that is a well put together album. Phenomenal first album. Singles, styling, everything. That was an album, right? Roxanne Shante, should she be 8? Should she be a little further up? I feel like I got questions about that, right? Foxy Brown is always an interesting one to me because Foxy can spit, but I think Foxy being problematic, not that some of the other women on this list and rappers in general haven't been problematic, but I think it hurts her. I think people leave her out. I was surprised they put MC Light as high as they did. I love Light, but I feel like the younger generation, her name doesn't really come up, right? I don't feel like a lot of the youth really know that much about Light. Light had a solid first album back in the day. I mean, the singles were banging. She was flipping it up with the R&B thing. She was like a tomboy kind of rapper that flipped the game over. So, you know, again, the list is interesting. I'm not saying it's unfair. I just don't know. Number 25 was Doechii, and I get it. She's new. I feel that. Um, Moni Love is an interesting one. When you think about, she was one of the first big rappers from the UK to cross over. Before her, and I don't even think you can really consider this individual a rapper, but her first song was rap-esque, and people talked about it. It's Nina Cherry. She had this song called Buffalo Stance. And so, you know, I kind of feel like Kim got robbed because of the fashion, the she started the only, well, no, I mean, I guess her and Foxy both kind of started the only female in my crew type of thing, hanging with the guys. I don't even think they had Mia X on there. I feel like, do you put her on but did she represent something for female rappers in the South coming up? They have Gangsta Boo. So if you have Gangsta Boo, Gangsta Boo is in the last 25. Do you not throw Mia X in there maybe? I don't know. It's an interesting list. Rhapsody, I feel like, and again, I like Rhapsody. I actually talked to her a little bit at the Grammys backstage. I feel like and I know she has fans, but who are Rhapsody's fans? Like, I feel like people use her as a prop and don't really respect her music or her rhymes. Not everybody, but I feel like people just use her name to say, see, I listen to other types of rap. I'm not just for the ratchet or the material. I can get deep. And that is the only person they point to. Tierra Whack was also in that last 25. So Pretty Brown Mimi, you asked, did you miss Queen Latifah? She's number 5. And I think that's a good place for her because she also, too, she came out as part of the Native Tongues, kind of, but she also had her own crew. And Latifah also was one of the first rappers, period, to flip over into acting. You had her, LL, obviously Run DMC kicked it off, a couple of others, but Latifah, so much so that I don't even know if some of the youth really know that Queen Latifah used to be a rapper. Much like I said with LL, I don't know if they really know her for that or could pick out her song or know what her hit was. I doubt that. Megan's with Trina. I think that's a good place for Trina. I'm comfortable with where Trina is. Eve,
she should be higher.
From bars and impact, because when Eve came out with, the blonde bombshell, and when she dropped, even though that was very much in the only female in my crew time period, she stood out and she made it an impact. I think it's hard, excuse me, to really get into some of these lists sometimes, but for the most part, I think this is a fair list because I'm not sure where I would move around some of my changes, but
I got a couple.
Let me hear them.
Well, I'm definitely putting Eve above Roxanne Shante, so I'm switching them.
Okay.
I'll put Eve at 8 and put Roxanne Shante
but
at 9.
Remember, part of their thing is impact, and Roxanne Shante was like one of the first female rappers, period. She had beef. She created a craze off of that. She was 15 years old when she dropped.
And I can respect that. It's not really too much of a pushback on that. Eve is just my personal female GOAT.
Got it.
You know what I mean? And just even at her time when she was popping, she was kind of like the only one, really. You know what I'm saying? Coming from a group of the Rough Riders.
Right.
I'm sorry. To stand out and to still be feminine.
Right.
In that space, I think was huge.
She was bad. And she looked different, like, still at the time. I agree. In the chat, EA says Lauryn Hill higher than Kim as a rapper cap. L Boogie is serious, though. So here's the thing. Lyrically, if you're going to like that, But they're two different styles. And I think, I mean, there's obviously crossing the fandoms, but I think Lauren fans are different from Kim's fans and looking for a different thing,
That's
right?
fair.
So I think it is impact, like you mentioned. Lauryn Hill's solo album came out and dropped a bomb. I have my same question. Well, you can count her Fuji stuff because I have my same questions as with Cardi. Even though that album was a masterpiece, it's only one album to place them in the top 25 of all time.
You got folks who drop 1 or 2 albums and they're considered the GOAT just because of that.
You know, it's an interesting list.
Is Lauryn Hill hip hop?
I think that was a conversation that happened a lot. She was one, because Latifah sang in some of her music, right? I think that people weren't really for that, though. Like Lauren, they considered that even though she was rapping on that album, it kind of was a genre blend and it was really fresh at the time. You think about Ja Rule really kicked off the singing rappers. And listen, as much as people, and Drake perfected it, obviously. Pretty Brown Mimi says, Yo-Yo, Queen Pen, didn't hear too many West Coast ladies. Here's the thing. I love Yo-Yo, right? But I don't know. I don't feel like she made an impact the way that these other ones did. Like, Yo-Yo was cool, but the momentum, I feel, and, you know, like, I was very much into hip hop then. I was IBWing with my crew, and I think that's what she had, the IBW, International Black Women's Council or something she was talking about. But I don't know. I don't see any of these top 20 where I would slot them out and drop in Yo-Yo. That's just my personal opinion. So I don't know. It's an interesting list. I think that the West Coast, we've talked about this before, is lacking when it comes to female rappers. I don't think it is something that we, you know, and we've had some, like back in the day, there was a group called Conscious Daughters. There's been a lot of things going around, but, you know, I think that we got to step it up in that aspect.